Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back your lovely faces to a brand new video here on the channel. Well, we've had some more interesting news which has recently cropped up. It is in regards to the Danny Masterson case. Obviously he's been accused of very horrible things by a couple of people, and obviously Scientology, they're involved as they would be. And well, yesterday we were talking about the judge and they had a few things that were going forward. They wanted the trial to be delayed. They wanted certain words not to be included. You can't call it Scientology. It's got to be like the church and all this kind of stuff. Well, news coming out of Tony Ortega's email list and the underground bunker is that we do have the latest news. And this morning, Judge Charlene Almeida issued a number of rulings ahead of Danny Masterson's trial next week. She denied a defense request for a delay based on anti-Scientology campaign ads aired by mayoral candidate Rick Caruso, which I think's great. It's like, it's a mayor race, let that go on, nothing to do with Danny, because again, they've tried to say that certain things don't include him, but this should. No, sorry. The defense has argued that Caruso's ads and similar anti-Scientology responses by his opponent, Karen Bass, was creating an environment that would make it hard for Masterson, a lifelong Scientologist, to get a fair trial. It seemed like a long shot, and it was shot down. Judge Almeida also had bad news, though, for the prosecution. The 1996 victim prosecutors wanted to call as a witness will not be allowed in the prosecution's main case, but could be included if the defense brings her up, which seems unlikely. 100%. It's like in the Johnny Depp trial when they were like, you can't bring up Kate Moss, but as soon as they mentioned, well, Amber actually mentioned Kate Moss, you saw Ben Chew just go, because you mentioned her, we can bring her up. That's how it goes. But I do find it a little bit like, ooh, maybe they should have allowed it. However, that person didn't come forward with other things going, towards what's currently happening. These are people in 2001, 2003, and 2004. Another request by the defense was the word Scientology be excluded from the case and replaced with either the church, the club, or the organization. Judge Almeida denied this request, which I think is great. She also said that the victims, based on their testimony at last year's pre-hearing, they were capable enough of explaining Scientology policies. Now, with that one there, I really do think that is going to be a really big thing in this trial going forward, because we're going to see an insight into Scientology that no one's really seen. A lot of their cases, they normally get just chucked to the side. They just let it go, and Marty Singer, like we talked about him earlier in the John Travolta situation, he seems to be the one in Hollywood that with Scientology, if you want to get rid of something in a case or whatever, go and see him and they get rid of it. Now as well, like we were saying, Marty Singer is also the one who was involved in 2004 where he made one of the victims who has come forward against Danny Masterson sign an agreement, a contract, basically saying that she had to blame herself for what happened. Now, Jane Doe's victim, Jane Doe's lawyers, they did come forward and they actually subpoenaed Marty Singer's documents for that, which I believe they have got. So that's going to be an interesting insight, because if we can actually see what that documentation is and that contract is, heads will roll inside Scientology, because it's going to show Scientology for what they are and how they got this person, this victim, to take the blame, from something that this guy did to her, But getting back to it. So an expert like Claire Headley is not needed. She is an ex-Scientology member. If it turns out later that an expert is needed, a hearing could be held at that point to decide whether to bring in Claire. Once again, as during the prelim last year, Judge Almeida made it clear that she will allow testimony about Scientology, but for limited purposes. Understandable. In other rulings, the prosecution will be allowed to ask Jane Doe 2 about what happened when she went to Scientology with a previous claim, but not details of the actual claim itself. Yeah, so with that there, that's going to be a huge thing, because obviously with going forward and her saying, well, I went to them in the past with this and they didn't do anything of it, that's a huge thing for the prosecution, a huge win in my eyes, because the people, the trial and everything else, they're going to be like, so they've known about these things and they're not doing anything about them. I talked about this in a live stream a couple of weeks back, and it was regarding the Jehovah's Witnesses, how they have the same kind of thing where if you have an issue inside their church, or whatever you want to call it, they have to go and see an elder. They don't go and see the police, they see an elder, which is someone who has been into the Jehovah's Witnesses for a while, for a long time, and they're the ones who are seen as the top dogs, basically, which in my eyes is just complete BS. But that's how it goes. And with the Jane Doe going to Scientology with a previous claim about something happening and them not doing anything about it, it's not going to look good for him. So Judge Amado also excluding any testimony about the fact that if Danny is convicted under California law, the victims would then have a year to file a civil lawsuit against him for this. The defense had wanted to refer to this in order to make the argument that the women are motivated by money. Judge Almeida ruled that the prosecution can introduce evidence about a specific firearm and its registration as it relates to the allegation by Jane Doe 1 that he brandished it during his on her, which is absolutely nuts, because with that happening, it's just nuts to see, It's how I look at that is, it's like, okay, you got this, something that can get rid of someone from this earth, and you just brandish it around while you're doing these horrible things to her? Are you saying that, basically you do as I say or you're gone? It's going to be an interesting court case, and I think a lot of stuff is going to come out about Scientology, not just about Danny Masterson himself, which sucks, because again, with Danny Masterson, like these two photos here, I love that 70s show, and I absolutely loved The Ranch. And I thought him in The Ranch was absolutely amazing. He was just so good. He was just so funny in it, But all this happened, and it's just like, wow, okay. Then you start looking into things. You start seeing all these accusations against him, and the amount of people who have said, yeah, he's kind of that kind of person. That's sickening, But that's the way this has gone, and the way Scientology are currently acting regarding this, and against all the other things that are currently coming out about them. We will keep you all up to date on this channel. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell for future updates, and I'll see each and every one of you soon.